Okay. It's showing the main screen is up here on the right, but we'll go with that first.
Oh, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, folks, appreciate y'all coming out. And right now, we're going to open this up for the public hearing. And I don't know if any of you want a copy of this. There is a copy of an overview for this public hearing. This is, just kind of give you an idea, this is when we go to do any type of grants this coming year. We have to do this public hearing because there are certain things that could happen in a project. But HUD is the one that actually is requiring us to kind of make this thing go this direction. Because if there are plans of the town for minimizing and displacing persons, this has to be part of a public hearing. Currently, with what we're looking at for this coming year, we're not looking at any displacement of people. As far as the paperwork is concerned, is anybody that would like that copy so you can look at it? Anybody? Okay. So basically what we're looking at this year, sewer treatment, new and existing sewer collection, potable water is $2 million grant. Streets is $1 million. Clearance is $6 million. Make a Difference program, which is a new program that rolled out last year, is a $2 million. That's what we could qualify up to on a grant, and then economic development, $2 million. So if we were to, I think we have something in right now for sewer treatment. So part of that for the 26 year, I'm sorry.
Is it 6 million?
No, clearance is 6,000, I'm sorry. Thank you. Economic development, $2 million. But basically what we're looking at is what comes up this year, and the reason for that public hearing is mainly because of the HUD jurisdiction over displacement of people. So any questions on it? Ms. Radell?
Okay, what you said for the displacement of people, do you have anything in plan to, low-income housing or, affordable housing?
As far as displacing anybody, no, ma'am. No, we don't have anything in that. Yes,
Are
ma'am.
these displaced people citizens of Iowa or other people going to be brought in?
Neither. We have no plans for displacing anyone.
I'm not talking about you displacing, I'm talking about what you're proposing. Are they gonna be brought in here from other places?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. This is strictly based on grants that we're applying for. And HUD, if you do any type of a clearance program or you have something for low income where you're having to do certain things and you have to displace somebody that's in a home and it may be that the home is.
In order to complete a project, that's what you're talking about.
Ma'am?
In order to complete a project, that's what you're talking about.
If we were to do a grant based on clearing of somebody out of a residence, but we don't have any plans for that whatsoever.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. All right, at this time, we're gonna close the public hearing. And we have a call to order, and we'll go through a roll call to establish the quorum. Ms. Julie Fonda.
Here.
Mr. Joe Becknell.
Here.
Ms. Vanessa Guillory.
Here.
Mr. Gerald Guidry.
Here.
Okay. And just for matter of reference, Mr. Daniel is out this evening with a scheduling conflict, and Miss Cindy is out sick. Okay. At this time, Mr. Joe will stand to do the invocation followed by the pledge. Everyone.
Please bow your heads. Lord, may your hand be upon us throughout this meeting, and may everything we do bring glory to your name. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Next item we have is to adopt the agenda.
I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Next one is going to be to the approval of the minutes as presented for regular meeting January 13th, 2025.
I move the vote we approve minutes, regular meeting, January 13th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that carries. Okay, for new business, financial, Miss Cindy is not here. Miss Elsie is going to read through this. If you do have any other questions, and you want to contact Miss Cindy when she's back in the office, you're more than welcome to. We'll try to answer those questions tonight as well, if you have. Okay.
I'm gonna start on page 8. It's gonna be the expenditures with comparison to the budget for the 7 months ending January 31st, 2025. The bottom line, net revenue over expenditures, our period actual is at $28,784.34. Your year's total is negative $366,271.81. The next is page 11, our sales tax water improvement. Your net revenue over expenditures is a negative $351,551.29 for your period actual. Your yearly actual is a negative $78,813.22. The next page is page 14. That's your sales tax, parks and streets. Your net revenue over expenditures is your period actual, negative $21,907.21. Your year total is negative $4,011.76. Your next page is page 17. That is your sales tax to street departments. Your period actual is $41,510.33. Your yearly is $13,425.89. Your next page will be page 20. That'll be our sales tax 3. Your period actual is $42,444.84. Your year total is $212,504.75. Your next page will be page 35. That will be your city waterworks. Your period actual is $52,980.63. Your yearly is $459,244. And that's all.
Ms. Elsie? Okay, I'm hoping to go through the items A through H under comments. These are things that we just want to try to do some housekeeping on. These will be some comments that I will be making. Please ask that you take it in the spirit that which I give it. This is to help us do a better job up here, okay? So I just wanted to take a moment, and I think it's long past time that I say this to help clarify some things. The purpose of these meetings is for the mayor and council to conduct business, and so that people can witness these decisions in the light of day as required by law. Over the past 2 years, with a few exceptions, nearly all of the conversations regarding town business has had little or no discussion outside this chamber. For the remaining time of my current administration, my priority will be the same as it has been from the onset: fixing the town of Iowa's infrastructure, budget, water, sewer, drainage, and streets. I am confident by the time of my next administration that we, as the people of the town, can find common ground to bring about what matters most, a better quality of life. We are elected to do the work of the people, and the best way we can accomplish that is to do what the law and rules prescribe. With that in mind, as these meetings are a place to conduct the town's business, the mayor is the one who ultimately sets the agenda to ensure that the business of the town is accomplished as the need arises. At the same time, these meetings have often been a place where people bring in ideas, and they bring them in such a fashion that it creates some confusion in our meetings. Many times people are quick to speak. Many times people are slow to listen. And because of that, we do have a contingent that has developed a victim mentality that then finds its way on the Facebook page, posts, and the like. And as I'm sure you're all aware, Facebook is a place where the most toxic of ideologies can be presented with no fear of repercussions. If you decide to get your information from Facebook posts, well, just say, I hope you don't. That's a difficult way to live. Now, if you have a conversation, and I mean a real conversation, not a need to get your 2 cents out lecturing session with your council person, and you feel nothing has been done, you should then reach out to the councilman at large. If after that you still have an issue, call me. And once again, I have and will be available for any conversation. That's just basic chain of command and the way to good governance. Lack of structure, chaos rules. If your matter is not dealt with, then you can request to be on the agenda. That's how things get done correctly. As a matter of remembrance, the council approved time frame is 3 minutes, and personal attacks on any specific person in the chamber will be sufficient reason for removal. This has been a process that has been followed by many different administrations. To the council, I would like to thank you for your service. This past year, personal attacks and failure to have conversations prior to being placed on the agenda has been done, and to the detriment of the rules. And the stress that some of these vocal members have put you under is not fair and will no longer be tolerated. And for everyone's knowledge, we as elected officials are not here to be interrogated. As a council, we should give full attention to the concern or complaint. However, any of these matters should warrant a time of discussion outside the chamber, and to not make a decision that allows for outside the chamber, to make a decision that allows for more information to be gathered, okay? Even if we take up a matter of concern or complaint and we're still lacking information or have other concerns, tabling an item is prudent, and it is acting as a safety net for not making a decision without all the information available. Special sessions is a cure to deal an urgent table topic after discussion. In other words, we don't have to wait an entire month to come back to an issue that needs to be dealt with. I do not know if the lack of communication is a hangover from the last administration or simply because I work to make sure that this administration is ethically responsible to the people. We have this opportunity to not only show our people, but the surrounding area, that we are not interested in politics of yesterday. Each of us as elected officials can do more than be in perpetual motion of re-election, and clarifying our purpose and chain of communication should help that. The people of this town not only deserve us to do our jobs, but to do it with unity and with the town's future foremost on our thoughts. The Louisiana Legislative Auditors have assured us that they are willing to make a council meeting and to do a presentation. If this is something the council would like to follow up with, please let me know, and we can have it placed on the next council meeting. The next item we have on here is the streaming and recording of mayor and council meetings. Most of you know in this room tonight, we have the cameras that will handle our streaming of the meetings. These were put in for 3 reasons. Recently, a new requirement was handed down that municipalities with a certain population are required to do so. While we have not reached that mark yet, prevailing thoughts indicate the population requirements may be lowered. Secondly, for our future, I see this as an accountability measure. Thirdly, these streamed meetings are an option for those that might be homebound and can't attend the meeting in person to still participate and be kept abreast of what's going on. Getting the system set up took a little bit of trial and error in order to do it while staying on a tight budget. Early on in the process, we found we had to upgrade the computer running the streaming. Then there was a complaint filed forcing everything to be held up again. In reference to that complaint, these cameras in most municipalities are set up according to NFPA, which is the National Fire Prevention Association, and the NEC, the National Electrical Code. Both deal with security or life safety in reference to cameras. Specifically, these regulations delve into the monitoring of said cameras and revolves around the term closed circuit. NFPA requires a license to install a system, and examples of such places would be police stations, airports, etc., where utmost care should be taken to protect privacy, whether in video form or in data. Under that system, personal privacy, safety, and security are paramount. And as such, the system requires measures to make sure that the system is protected, and the vendor requires licensing. These types of systems are generally never turned off and could be subject to attempts to hacking and or someone using an app outside of the system to control or monitor. Thus, justified licensing, and rightly so. But streaming is a very gray area, and as the code is not clear on this aspect, and as discussions were had with the fire marshal's office and some electrical contractors, so what's the difference? For starters, our cameras are not operational 24/7. They are turned on only for the live stream, and it is for public consumption. There is no life safety, security, and there's nobody monitoring the system. Secondly, the system is not connected or integrated in any way with any other system in the building. It is hard switched and cannot be hacked to turn on. There is no external app for the cameras, and in no way are we facilitated through the server room. And most of us have cell phones, and we've taken the time to do a little video and post it online. These are doing the same thing. There's not a lot of difference between it. Okay? At some point, I hope, as others do, that I've had conversation with, that common sense on streaming is given its proper place within the NFPA and the NEC. The vendor that installed this system has taken the necessary measures to be in compliance with NFPA 731. So I hope that this clears the air and that we can now conduct these meetings with grace and accountability and allow for residents who are unable to attend to keep up with matters that are important to them. Item number 3, January 2025 winter freeze. Let's see. This is an update regarding what we did with the winter freeze. As some of you know, and maybe many of you weren't aware, Governor Landry did an emergency declaration, and I followed his emergency declaration on a local level. This proclamation can be found on YouTube. I did so to help protect the water infrastructure that we have and public property. I asked that you drip the water to a slow trickle, and because this was to protect the infrastructure, those days' water usage above your average is the responsibility of the water system and not you. As of today, I have not heard of any major, and I underscore major, issues that developed in the town as far as water lines breaking of that nature. I wish to thank the public for taking this winter storm seriously and helping keeping the water moving during the extremely cold temperature. And I think at this time, I'd like to I would like to kind of break from what I'm reading, kind of give you pull the curtain back, and more specifically during that time frame. As many of you know, we maintain water through the 2 coldest nights. And I think there's, as we look at some of the comments that were made when we did lose water, I think it ironic that someone at half a block away or half a mile away or half a state away actually knew what was going on at 4 o'clock that morning. I don't think there were many other than the folks that were in the room when we were trying to get the wells back running. We still had water pressure at that time, but we were having some difficulties on it. But what people don't see, what they do see is a perspective. They look and they see that one moment in time and they don't see anything before it. They don't see anything after it. The equipment that we have is not suitable to having 8-degree temperatures on it. It does not like to work in the cold. Matter of fact, Monday, that first night that it got cold, we lost all ability to monitor our wells because it froze. The mechanism that we use to actually monitor. Even though we have redundancies on it, if it freezes up, it's very difficult to climb the tower and unfreeze certain aspects of that to give us the readings. So we had people on call, we had people going into the water plant and actually doing the job that we're supposed to do. And that's what the maintenance team does. They tend to these things. We try to make sure that there is not an issue when it comes to these services that we provide. But again, we're not perfect, and the things that happen, some things we just don't have control over. And that particular case, that Thursday morning, we had no control over. It was an issue that had developed probably 8 to 10 years ago that reared its ugly head. We had no clue that it was actually there, so we had to get an electrician out on emergency call. By the time they got here, of course, the tank had emptied, and we were able to finally get it bypassed so we could get the water back in. So again, this is not something where we just kind of, well, it's just going to be cold and we're just going to let it go and do what it's going to do. We were constantly in touch all through the night, all 3 nights, to try to make sure that we had what we needed. Had we not been maintaining, it would have been probably noon or 1 before we got water back on. So we were very fortunate we were able to get it back. So that's just a kind of a look behind the curtain as to what actually happened. And so I'm going to move on to the next thing. And that's going to be item D, debris throughout town. Many of you know that we do not have that service provided. When Waste Management had the contract, the previous contract, they did pick up debris. We no longer have that in our contract because of the cost that would have been incurred by signing that contract with the last one. That was something that was done 3 years ago. I think we have 2 more years left on that contract. So this is something that's become a burden for the town as far as picking up the debris that continues to be put in the right of ways. One of the things that I would like to point out is that most of this debris issue that we're having is by repeat offenders. This folder right here is chock-a-block full of letters, certified letters, requests to get things taken care of, and you'll find the repeat of the names over and over again. And at some point, we're going to have to go back out and pick this stuff up because it's becoming a hazard. Especially when we have high winds or we have things that are going on that's blowing in the road, we're going to have some issues with it. I would hope that the council would consider going back to section 1.8, general penalty, and Mr. Jean, I'd like for your input on this. Not today, but this is one of those things. It says, except as otherwise provided by state law, wherever in this code or in any ordinance of the municipality an act is prohibited or or is made or declared to be unlawful, or an offense or a misdemeanor or whatever in the code or the ordinance, the doing of any act is required, or the failure to do any act is declared to be unlawful. Where no specific penalty is provided, therefore, the violation of any provision of this code or of any ordinance shall be punished by a fine not exceeding $500. I'm not going to read the rest of it, it gets pretty lengthy. But that is the beginning of our ordinances. That is the general penalty. And I know in some of these things that we have, there's a $25, to begin with, and this and that and the other. But I believe at some point, we need to close that loophole in there and say, look, if it's a repeat offender, it needs to be maximum. I don't think we're going to cure this any other way until we have a service. So I just wanted to put it out there when it comes to the debris throughout town. I'm gonna move on to the decline in revenue. As many of you know, I've mentioned this on many occasions. December, we were down 14.2% in revenues over the last 2 years. We're trying to hold the line on the budget. We actually made a very big change over the last month. We are currently at 1.7. But a lot of that has to do with the budget that we set is less this year than what we set last year. And that one was less than it was the previous year, all the way back to 21. So we were still operating off of 21's budget numbers, and we decreased it even more. And that's the reason that we somewhat back into being close to a break-even point. On a note, other than that decline in revenue, if we go back in time, we're going to find almost, I think it was 2019, there was near $8 million in between LAMP and savings and general fund and all the other funds that had their savings in there. When I took office, we were less than 5 million. So I'm saying that again, as I'm pulling back this curtain, when we spend more than we take in, we end up running a deficit. If we continue to spend more than we take in, we're gonna put ourselves in a very bad situation. And based on those revenues, one of the things I would like to suggest to have a discussion on is we do have those funds that we do put aside for rainy day, whether it be a hurricane, whether it be such as this freeze, if we lost a well. Those things are very expensive and it's very, very costly, and it's something we have to get on right away. So we do need to have some type of savings. I don't know what the cap should be, because I don't know exactly what those things would look like. We just don't know, but we should have something in reserve. And I think it's something that we should have a conversation on when it comes to how much of the savings we need to have, how much of it needs to go back into the system so that we can upgrade what we have on hand. Okay. The next thing is the ordinance process. And I'm sorry it's taking so long. I'm going to try to get this through quickly. Ordinance process is this. Again, with the ordinances, we are required to do quite a few things when it comes to ordinance. So whether it's long grass, it's debris on the side of the road, it's abandoned vehicles, it's any of those things, there is a process. And because there is a process, people are required to do due diligence. We have to do due diligence. But a lot of what we're finding is we're running into a point where we just don't have the teeth that actually make these things work. Okay. So this is something else. I think if we look at it, maybe there's something we can do to kind of put the teeth back into it to where we can actually get it done. So the first thing we have to do is a notice to comply. We have to give this in case of a violation, whatever that case may be. We have to send a notice to comply. We have to serve that notice, all right? And I'm just going to go through the very brief portions of this. You can find those in section 23-176 of our municipal code. And then they go through the presumption of receiving. Then it goes through the punishment for violation. So there's quite a few things in here that we have to go through. And again, we have, we do certified letters. We're told, we're recommended that if a letter comes back, we send it again. We've done that on quite a few people at this point and still haven't gotten anywhere with it. And I'm hoping that if the same in serving and the same in presumption of receiving is in our ordinance, then maybe we can proceed with what needs to be done to remedy the situation on those pieces of property. So it's something to think about. And so I'm gonna get away from that on that one. Update is the next one. Update on permit for mobile home moved to 608 Highway 90. I don't know if you folks realize it or remember. There was a mobile home company that moved the mobile home in. It was not the correct age to be moving it in, and of course it got stopped in its tracks because when we realized, or when it was brought to their attention, they came in and they tried to make things correct. We got the building code inspector involved. He went out and inspected the trailer, found it was within its, they had some water damage. They were replacing the flooring, and he went back and re-examined it, and everything passed muster. So that did get taken care of. I do have a letter going out to that particular mobile home mover and letting them know that they cannot do that again. And I'm hoping that there's some legal remedies behind that if they do it again. Okay. All right. The next item that we have, let's see here, is update on 510 Barkley. And for those of you that may not know, I can't get into a lot of the details on the family issue there, but I will tell you that there has been an issue with that piece of property for a number of years. This is nothing new. It is a problem, and it is something, and I want to say what I have in the file goes back, or at least what I can find beyond my administration here, goes back to 2022. And so basically there's been some issues on that property with abandoned vehicles. There's been some other things that's transpired on that particular ground. There was some drums that was stored in a building, and DEQ has gotten involved in it. They got everything cleared as far as my understanding is on it. The individuals that removed the barrels had been tested. Come to find out, it's degreaser. So all the containers have been disposed of properly, and I know it created quite an issue for the Trahans as far as their yard and the grass being killed, and I know there's still some stuff that needs to be tended to on that piece of property. As a matter of update on that, the owner is not doing well at all. They are bedridden. They have, in the last few months, from my understanding, have had more strokes, and also the spouse has just recently had surgery. So there are some health issues related to that. One of the things that concerns me about this particular one is that the extended family is trying to figure out what they can do to help out. There's some angst within the family that needs to get sorted, and I hope that they can do that. I was assured today that there was going to be a family discussion, and they were going to figure out how to move forward to try to take care of the problems on this property. Okay. I'm going to move to 513 A, B, C, and D, Fairview. Some of you are aware of it. Some of you may not be. And we have the pictures, we've got the documentation, but this is a repeat offender, and it is a repeat offender of a landlord. This isn't the only property that they've got a repeat offense on. This is the worst one. I would like to see if there is a way, being as how we have that $500 penalty, that we can apply that to both A, B, C, and D of 513 Fairview as they continue to put debris to the road and they are not doing some of the things that they should do as far as the upkeep of that property. It has been an issue from day one with that particular, if you want to call it, mobile home park, because there's too many on the lot. But those things I think need to be remedied as quickly as we can, because the more we try to clean up some of the other deals, these properties are pointed at as well. These aren't getting taken care of. Why do I have to do this and mine doesn't look that bad? So I think we have to get to a point where we can do something that's going to push this a little bit further. Okay, 502 Railroad is another one, and if you can give me just a second. Okay. 502 Railroad is another area that we have an issue with, and this is going to be more related to animals in town. This is a piece of property, and that piece of property down through there is on our clearance program. It will be coming down. We're hoping that within the next month we'll see the funds come through for the grant that we did apply for. All of the pertinent groundwork and footwork has been done prior to this. So if there's any type of asbestos or anything, abatement, those have already been identified. So as soon as the money comes through, those properties will be taken down and cleaned up. Okay, but on this one, in the last month, we've had 7 dogs removed from that property and 2 horses. And this is becoming an issue throughout town as well. We have lots of animals that are, we actually have a couple of, if you want to call them herds of feral cats. I don't know if you call a cat's herds, but anyway, it's gotten quite bad. And we've gotten to the point where we have folks with dogs that are turning them loose at night, letting them run. I have spoken with the animal control. They are stepping up where they haven't really been doing patrols in Iowa. They will be stepping up patrols. If you're having issues, please call animal control. If you can't get through to them, let us know. Because we're having a lot of issues with that. Okay. So basically, those are just comments. Again, there's nothing. I'm not trying to point fingers at anybody. We just need to get on with our business. If you don't mind, Miss Raynell, can we talk afterwards?
Okay, give us real quick, the address on Fairview y'all have wrong. That's my house.
You're right. You're right. It is. It should be. You're right.
And I don't have the ABCD.
No, you don't. I'm not quite sure how that got on there like that. But we'll get that corrected. It's the correct address is going to be 504. 504. 504. I'm sorry. So I didn't double check numbers. I'm sorry. All right. So at this time, Ms. Catherine Traha to discuss ordinance complaint on property located at 510 Park.
Okay, for the minutes, I want my name corrected to Catherine Eorani.
E-R-I-N-E.
C-H-E-R-N.
Yes, ma'am.
Prior to getting started, I just want to make just a brief comment on, and actually a question in regards to our previous discussion there. The complaint filed with the fire marshals filed by me, and that was after numerous emails sent to the town clerk asking if we had CCTV, with no response. So that's what occurred with that. And as far as forums that town business should not be discussed on, I also call attention to X at Neil Watkins. Okay, so Catherine Trahan and George Trahan are the lawful owners of the property at 508 Barclay, which butts adjacently to the property at 510. Now, they've lived there since 2005 and had an amicable relationship with the family. And it kind of concerns me that we violated their privacy by mentioning their health conditions, which in my medical world is a violation. The family has gone through different changes and different struggles, as we all do, but the bottom line is I got to the town and our lawyer, and Mr. Guidry and Miss Julie, would remember when I brought the situation about a Peterbilt that dumped a bunch of diesel in 2017, 2018 on the property. And the biggest concern I had at that point was a hazmat team, of which I tried to work with the then police, or the fire chief, to see what we had in town, because there's not enough kitty litter at the Dollar General to clean that mess up. So that occurred. Now I have an outbuilding that is 22.5 inches from my property line, which again is outside of regulations in closeness to another property. The side yards are to be at least 7 feet with the new recommendations and what I'm seeing on our website. So after numerous conversations throughout the years with immediate and extended family members, as well as state and federal representatives, who've always asked me, why is the municipal not becoming more involved with some of these property issues? Because some of them were quite concerning. What we were finding and what I found from DEQ too, because 3 of the 4 complaints made on this property were made by me and adjacent neighbors because of a foul-smelling product that was destroying and continues to not even let grass grow years later. That was actually burning the eyes of the residents. They couldn't even cut the grass back. And from there, I filed an ordinance complaint finally in November of 2024. So this has been going on for more than enough time. These ordinance violations were familiar, and the mayor and I had discussed them, and even walked the property line pre-election and talked about it in his office, and he's driven by the property during his tenure. So it's very, like he said, it's very much well known. The violations that we saw happening, which included DEQ violations, some of them were as follows, okay? Unsafe building and structures. Now, back in February of 2023 and August of 2023, 510 Barclay was on the books for discussion of inspection and demolition. The next month, when there would have been a report to it, it was gone. So I'm coming back with same questions back to the town, what's going on, because there is some definite violations there. The house was actually vacated in May of 2024. So now, in addition to having an outbuilding that is not safe because of a collapsed lean-to and corroded walls, which is not even to mention what's inside, we have a house that's not livable, quote unquote, by an extended family member that says the floors are rotting and collapsing, caving in. Therefore, not mine. Now, the outbuilding being storm damaged and corroded, again, continues to leak fluid into our yards. Initially, the owner's representative produced a bucket that had about inches of some kind of fluid and say that was the problem. Subsequently, there were 19 plus containers, mostly 55-gallon containers, full of an oil and grease type of combination that were loaded onto a trailer with a Bobcat forklift, which pretty much tells you we weren't light. Junk and abandoned motor vehicles, a large fifth wheel, which was also on one of the meetings in 2023 for inspection and demolition, imploded right to the ground and then was finally removed last year, the end of last year, to access the outbuilding. There was a Jeep removed off of the property, and we still have 3 vehicles, including a motorhome, that have sat there for greater than 20 years. Why do I know this? Because some of my neighbors have been there that long. There's 2 vehicles that have been there for greater than 2 to 5 years. Storage and abandoned junk on the lot. Now this is on vacated parts of the lot too. Mattresses, propane bottles, wheelchairs, walkers, garbage. I mean, I've got pictures that would make a wonderful collage of how not to choose a lot to live by. Nuisances. There's been many nuisances with this property too. In fact, one of the nuisances was made aware to us by the mayor, who shared with us that we had some drug-related activity happening, and also put us in touch with the cat unit to observe the property. We have surround security cameras with audio and visual, night vision and everything else. And it was quite the display. They were in touch with us, we were in touch with them. In fact, when the family vacated, they even found one of the boxes, fairly secure box, tucked away, hidden away, that said dope box in the back of the house. So on top of that, the police has attended the property with reports of individuals there at night. They come at night. The place is vacated. It's unsafe to be in. And we even see lights coming on and off in the house in the middle of the night. A neighbor across the street has let the family know. There's been police called. They've attended to it very quickly. It's just not very secure. Now, we are very concerned about the situation. Even prior to the complaint that I made on the ordinance, I brought a citizen complaint to Calcasieu Police Jury. And they told me they couldn't take the complaint because they only do unincorporated areas or properties. And that the town would have to make a notice for them to come and inspect it, and we would make the appropriate things. They haven't received it, is what I was told by Mrs. Watkins related to the Calcasieu Police Jury. In fact, her response to me, and I think she was trying to be kind, was, quote, call Tony Stelly and see if there's anything that he can do to help and plead for health, safety of the neighborhood. Tony Stelly is the brother-in-law of the owner. Nothing's been done with my repeated requests. I've sent numerous responses, numerous emails to the town clerk and to our mayor requesting that this be attended to. It's getting very old. Representative Romero, Senator Abrams, and Representative Clay Higgins, federally, even told me, why don't you just call the television station and have them put it on TV? I'm not that disrespectful to my neighbors. The council's been disrespectful to me and my husband.
Thank you, Ms. Catherine. Okay. The next item we have on here is Chief Vincent. And we have a motion to approve hiring Randy Simeon for part-time dispatch. Would you like to come up? Thank you, Chief.
Yes, motion to hire Brandy Sound part-time, effective 1/27/25.
You want to do them all together or one at a time?
It's up to you.
I think you'll do it one at a time.
One at a time.
Usually I usually recommend doing it one at a time, but I'm not telling you you can't do it together.
That's fine. I'll make that motion to approve Brandy Simon for part-time dispatcher, effective 1/27/2025.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that carries.
Motion to approve hiring Noel Jennings, part-time dispatch effective 2/3/20.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that motion carries.
Wanted to thank you for the timeline that I requested to discuss. Appreciate all the feedback. Just two more requests. If we can get a specific date of completion, I mean, I know they factor hours and all that, if we can get that by the next meeting. And also, we've had a few requests on our time clock. Perhaps you could address that.
Time clock?
Yeah, our time clock not functioning properly. We've submitted several requests and it still hasn't been completed. And we've had those computers.
Can you do me a favor, please loop me in on that when y'all send a request? Because I do
Yes, I'll have
follow.
Christie send you
Okay.
correspondence.
Okay, thank you.
Also, our computer's been sitting a while and I understand what's going on, but it's hampering the mission of the officers.
Do you having any specific issues with the laptops right now?
They're our old.
Other than old,
obsolete. And we are having issues.
Okay.
They're having problems getting, I mean, I didn't want to bring up all the negative, but.
Well, no, that's fine, that's fine. But
Numerous issues.
we're waiting on that rack to come in, and that's the only thing that's holding them up to tell us when. So, which I would expect that rack in anytime.
Okay,
Okay?
thank
All right. Did your team win?
Yeah, the highway boy got a ring, that's all.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate you. Okay, number 5, we have a motion to approve open-end equity lease with Enterprise Fleet Management. I'm sorry if y'all can't hear me. I have my phone. Fleet Management for the lease of a 2024 Ford F-250 XL 4x2. Regular cab with 8-foot utility box for Public Works Department, which will replace a 2016 Ford F-250 diesel, and authorize Mayor Watkins to execute said lease agreement. I was really not wanting to do another lease this year. This truck has been presenting us some issues. We thought we could ride it out for another year, but it appears that we're not going to be able to. I think it just makes better sense for us to put that money into something that will last us a lot longer than keep band-aiding it. So. Any questions?
I'll make the motion to approve open-end equity lease with Enterprise Fleet Management for 2024 Ford F-250.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that carries. Okay, number 6. And for those of you that are excited about Waffle House, I get to talk about it. Okay. Motion to approve resolution 2025-02, a resolution relative to the abandoning of a 5-foot water and sewer line easement. And this particular easement, do you have the paperwork on that? Yeah, it's basically what happened, is it 30 years ago? 35 years ago, they had an easement that ran north and south on that piece of property for future. And of course, I wanted to make sure y'all had it. But that easement was never used for that. And so because of the way that Waffle House is building on that lot, their parking lot would cover that easement. So we wanted to be sure that that we didn't have an issue there, and come to find out there's nothing there. So we're just going to abandon that particular easement, because our water easement and our sewer easement is on the south side of the property. Okay, any questions? Okay.
You need a motion on that.
Yes. I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2025-32.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that motion carries. All right, the next item on the list is a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you folks for coming out.
Mayor, just you can.
Yeah. It's not a touch screen.